Good morning everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here this Saturday morning on Bitcoin. We're going to do a full update on Bitcoin. I also wanted to talk about some more general market fundamentals in this video, if you don't mind. I think it's interesting, I think it's valuable for all of you. Because yesterday, of course, we had some major news and also some shifts in the fundamentals that I personally do like. So we'll talk about that and then we'll talk about Bitcoin. But honestly, I mean, Bitcoin at this point of time is still finding value and finding stability right here in this region around 109,500. Yesterday, 1 hour after the New York Open, we already spoke about that yesterday evening when I made a middle of the day market update, or at least an evening update, I should say. Like that was pretty good, right? So just a bit of a recap. Like we had one high volume spike, and this is very high, right? I mean, if you go back in time, or at least if you look at the past week, we rarely get a volume this high in a matter of 30 minutes. And it was also volume when the price was pushing down, but then the price was caught up incredibly early and incredibly well at 108,900. So that was actually a good sign, but since then we've just seen stability. And now the big question is all right, well, what can we expect this weekend? Well, I'll tell you, volume is decreasing rapidly. Liquidity is decreasing rapidly. What I would expect, or at least what I am expecting at this point of time, is volatility, whipsaw volatility, right? So up and down, spike up potentially, is what I would say is most likely in that order. Going into Monday, and then Monday we'll see again. It very much also depends on if we have some news over the course of this weekend. Yesterday, talking about the fundamentals, we actually ended the day relatively well, in my opinion, and I'll tell you why. I mean, if you look at the S&P 500, you can see that actually looks pretty good, right? I mean, if you look at equities this way, it was quite bearish. We had some major moves down, as you can see, with the S&P 500 pre-market as well. But ultimately, we've recovered, and even on the 4-hour time frame, which I would say for equities is a relatively low time frame, we've actually been able to hold relatively well. So that's good. And what I would say is even more important is that one of the main things that I really disliked last week to see is that the volatility index moved higher, right? So the volatility index usually is a bit of a measure of volatility, but therefore unrest, right? And you can see that this has been decreasing rapidly, and that is very important and positive for risk on assets such as the Russell 2000, but also crypto. So that's all great to see. Those are better fundamentals. The odds at 50 base points cuts for the interest rate in 2025 has also increased somewhat. If you take a look at the 10th of December, I think yesterday morning it was like 62%, and it's now 65.5%. So those, like I said, the fundamentals actually developed relatively good, but Bitcoin is not doing much. Now, ultimately, what I told you yesterday evening is still what I think about Bitcoin right now, although I must say that the volume is decreasing rapidly, right? So that's why I'm telling you, be aware of volatility to the upside and the downside. Like we could do something like this, grab some liquidity to the downside and then rapidly accelerate into the 7-day rolling VWAP. Something like this looks more likely to me. Yesterday I said I think we're forming a local bottom. I still do think that, but what is part of that is a potential spike down, right? But ultimately, I think Bitcoin is at a very strong support level here. I think, like I said, the fundamentals have become a little bit better, so that adds a bit of a reason to expect somewhat of a recovery at least. And that price action we had yesterday after the NYO actually supports that as well, in my opinion. So that's what I would expect. But ultimately, that's more of a bit of a relief spike. Instead of anything else, right? I'm not saying that I expect Bitcoin to rally again. That is a possibility, but for me that really depends on how Bitcoin acts after that spike up. So that's what I expect. That's what I think you need to know, at least for now. So if you do have any questions, let me know down in the comments. But for now, thank you for watching. Take care and bye.